Hey folks, how's it going today? Just out for my morning walk and pretty interesting. Always living in the city, you're constantly hearing sirens. It's an interesting phenomena in cities, and I'm not sure if it's an aging population or a metric of a lack of health in our society, but it seems as though our emergency vehicles are going more and more every year. It could also just be that I'm really sensitive to noise. I can't stand it. But anyhow, I think that it kind of ties nicely into today's conversation around community. And so after teaching close to 30 permaculture design courses and just having finished my last one, number 28, I've seen a lot of students. I've seen a lot of people come through our programs, people who would define themselves as white collar, blue collar, stay-at-home moms, homeschoolers, lots of other ways that people would define themselves in terms of when they come to these programs and introduce themselves. And you know, having done this for close to 10 years now, I think this is my 10th year actually, I've had a lot of time to reflect on these people and the outcomes of the program and how they're using the information. So some of our students go off and start businesses, quite a few of them actually. And there's a lot of permaculture representation, at least from a business perspective, in Calgary here. And it's really great to see how much change these people are making with the use of permaculture. It's always really inspiring to me. I'm just gonna walk down the back alley. It's not the most inspiring of landscapes, but I always find interesting resources back here. It's one of the things in cities that back alleys, at least in my neighborhood, are loaded with interesting resources that you can put to productive use in your own permaculture design. And anyhow, you know, when I first took my first permaculture design course, I didn't realize it necessarily at the time, but looking back on it now, what I realized, one of the most valuable pieces to the course, which I had never intended on getting or even sought as a result of trying to find this, was community. And I've started doing these closeout interviews with my students, which you can find on our YouTube page. And it's really interesting because a lot of them say the exact same thing. It's the community that they got as a result of, sorry about the jet going overhead here. Take a look at it. Always find it amazing that we've, as a species, found it a way to make heavier than air things fly. It's crazy. Anyways, a lot of these students say the same things. They say that if you had tried to convince me to take this course because I would have left with a community, I would never have taken the program. I came for the information. And while you get a lot of information in a PDC, and it changes the way that you look at the world in a really big way, so much so for me anyways, that I left my high-paying oil and gas job to pursue this lifestyle. What I realized was that when I was at my first permaculture design course, I realized that I wasn't super weird anymore, or at least if I was weird, that dog thinks I'm weird. If I was weird, at least I wasn't alone. And I was able to show up to a conversation with a bunch of other adults, teenagers, kids, and have a really great conversation without having to go through all of the small talk. And so when you take a permaculture design course, that's one of the big outcomes, is that you all of a sudden can stop being stressed out about whether or not you're a weirdo, because there's a whole bunch of other people that think the same way as you do and are going through the same sort of issues in their life, have the same concerns for the planet or for their well-being. And so this is one of the main reasons that I've continued to teach it, is because I see these results in people. I see people showing up at potlucks, people making new connections, people connecting in with the permaculture community here in Calgary and Edmonton and wherever there is a permaculture community, all over the world. And if you've never experienced being part of community, probably one of my biggest insights came when I taught a PDC probably 5 years ago, and I had a whole group of Mormons show up at my course. And they were really confused by why I was talking so much about the importance of community when I was teaching, and how to form community and how community makes you more resilient. It's actually the only thing that makes you resilient. You can have all the food stored, you can have all the techniques, all the tools, you can have the off-grid house, but if you don't have a community, you're not resilient. Community is the thing that differentiates resilience from just having a bunch of stuff. And I think part of that is because we're a community species. We have the need to connect with other humans. And you can think that you can go off into the woods and just kind of do it on your own, but it's gonna be pretty lonely out there, and you're gonna feel likely that you don't have a lot of meaning in your life. Every day is a bit of a slog, but when you do it with a bunch of other people, it becomes something more. And so anyways, these Mormons came up to me and said, you know, halfway through the program, they said, you know, for the longest time I couldn't figure out why you were harping on community so much in your program and the importance of it, until I realized, not me, the person talking to me, that most of the people in this program are not part of a church. And so I would say that there's a lot of people that are not communing at churches anymore, and I'm one of them. I don't go to church on Sunday. I'm not religious, and there's nothing wrong with being religious or going to a church. I think it's actually a really great exercise from a community perspective. I think one of the biggest outcomes of being part of a church is that you have a community of people that have a common ethic. And so while permaculture doesn't aim to be a religion, and I think that it should be very careful about providing spiritual advice to people, which some PDCs kind of focus on, it does create a venue and an opportunity to create a community around care of earth, care of people, and return of surplus. The reason I don't think permaculture should be based in any kind of spirituality is that was never its intention. Permaculture is a design system. It's not a spiritual modality. And the reason that it should stay as a design system and a way of creating sustainable human habitat is because we get Mormons and Muslims and atheists and agnostics and Buddhists and pretty much any other type of ist, or any kind of religion or spiritual belief, basically. And the goal with permaculture was always to create a common ethic that would supersede, or at least be common amongst all humans, regardless of your spiritual beliefs, regardless of your political outlooks, regardless of everything. I mean, if we can just agree upon 3 basic ethics: return of surplus, care of earth, and care of people, then we should be able to find a common reason to work together which is really what's causing all of the problems in the world, is that we aren't working together. So with the explosion of internet-based courses, I've been thinking a lot about whether the live version of the permaculture design course is still a relevant program, and versus, you know, taking an online version of it. And there's some great options out there in terms of taking an online course. And what I've come to realize is that information, or at least lack of information, is no longer the problem in our society. You can get most of the stuff that you need in a permaculture design course, or get from a permaculture design course, by watching YouTube videos, reading blogs. I mean, it's all out there, it's on the internet. And if you spend enough time in books and on blogs and on videos, you should be able to figure it out. The thing that is difficult to get with an online program, or just reading information, is that community piece. It's connecting with other humans. It's having that compassion and realizing that you're not alone in all of this stuff. That is one of the most profound things you get out of a live permaculture design course, when you connect with other real people. And in a world where we're all completely addicted to our phones and our computers, and we spend most of our lives in the digital environment, stepping out of that for 2 weeks and connecting in a way that we've connected for tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of years as humans, is now rare. And it's very special. It's special for me as a teacher to be able to connect with such incredible people and to see what these people do with this information as a result of this program. And it's special for the people that are connecting with each other. Our PDCs have formed marriages, they've formed long-lasting relationships, and we're at a point now in Alberta where there's enough stuff happening in permaculture that we could stop teaching and the system would just kind of go on its own now. So if you are considering taking a permaculture design course and you're kind of struggling with whether to take it online or live, what I would recommend you do is ask yourself the question, am I lacking information, or am I lacking community, or is it a combination of both? And if you are feeling alone or wanting to connect with other people to talk about things that you're concerned about, then take the live version. Go to a permaculture design course somewhere in the world where people are actually convening. They're not just signing in on a digital device. And connect with people. Turn off your phones, turn off your computers, turn off your social media feed, and just be there. And suck it all in and enjoy yourself. And remember what it feels like to be connected to other humans in a way that most of us probably don't feel very often anymore. And you'll be amazed at what you get out of it. So if you're just starting your permaculture journey and looking into it and you need some information to learn more about what it is and whether it's a fit, we now have released our 60-page note pack, which we give to all of our permaculture design grads. And it has a really great primer that kind of gives you most of the key and core concepts of permaculture. And you can download this for free, and I'll put a link in the show notes below. Thanks for watching again, guys. If you're finding these videos interesting and you want more information on permaculture, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell button if you want notifications when new videos come out. And look forward to your comments and potentially seeing you in a course one day. Okay guys, have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. See you in the next video.